Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be going over Take-Two Interactive stock. We're going to give a little bit of an analysis, some price targets, give a first look, and talk about our first initiation of buying this stock. But before we do, please smash the like button, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe. Once we hit 2,000 subscribers, we are going to be giving away a pair of AirPods. Definitely check out that video as far as the giveaway video. Now let's just get into some of the information. First, I want to go over the stock price. Well, Take-Two stock has had a recent pullback. If you can see in the last 5 days, it's down about 2%. In the past month, it's down a little over 5%. Past 6 months, it's been down basically 15 and a quarter percent. And year to date, the stock is down over 21%. So it has come down since January. But long term, this stock has performed exceptionally well. The management has been able to achieve 255% growth in the stock in the last 5 years, which obviously, I don't have to say, but destroys the S&P 500. So long term, this has been a great stock, but recently we have had a pullback since there was so much hype in 2020 into gaming stocks. So to go over Take-Two Interactive, I want to first start with just some news about the company and things going on. So first, about some big console games that are coming soon. The first big game is NBA 2K 2022. This game's coming out on September 10th, so we're talking about 2-3 weeks away. Now, this is basically one of the major games for Take-Two Interactive. They drop it every year, and it does exceptionally well every year, so I expect it to continue to do well. And I actually expect it to do even better than normal because of more PS5s and the new Xbox systems being out with these new consoles. I think more and more people are expecting to probably buy more games than they usually do if they just got the new console, etc. As far as Grand Theft Auto, their other major franchise game that they basically have been killing it with, Grand Theft Auto 5, they are coming since the new generations are out, the new Xbox Series X and the new PS5, they basically are releasing like an expanded and an enhanced version of Grand Theft Auto 5. It's going to have new features, new content, better graphics, all of that to be on the new hardware. Now, GTA 5 first came out in 2013, so it's already been 8 years and they still make incredible amounts of money with this game. I expect with the enhanced edition version that they're going to be releasing for these new consoles that they're going to basically make a ton of money with those, and I expect that to be a nice boost for revenue. Now, 8 years and counting, we still have not received GTA 6. It's been a long, long wait. Now, I did look online a little about the details, and there's some gossip that it might not come till 2025. The past gossip was that it was going to launch in October of 2023. The truth is, nobody knows when it's going to come out because they haven't made any formal announcements. But what I can tell you is this game has been so profitable quarter over quarter for 8 years straight, GTA 5, that when GTA 6 comes out, it is going to break records, in my opinion. I think it's just going to be a smash hit for them and continue the success that GTA 5 has built. And whenever that game does come out, I mean, the honest truth is I just want to be in this stock before the announcement of its release date because I do think it's going to be a very, very big catalyst for this stock. Now, some games coming out soon. Coming in early 2022, we have this new game called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Basically, a complete new game for Take-Two Interactive. I think it's going to basically bring a bunch of new types of gamers to their platform and to play their games and their content that may have never played their games before. Take-Two is the smaller of the three between Activision Blizzard, EA Games, and Take-Two. They're the smallest of those three. So I think as they add more new content and different types of games, they're going to build their user base of gamers, and they're going to introduce new people to their content, which is just going to enhance sales, increase revenue, increase earnings, etc. So I love to see that they are working and building these big new games that should do very well, I think, for them. Speaking of new big games, we have a really, really big one coming, and that is Marvel's Midnight Suns. This is basically a huge game. It's going to come March 2022. It's an RPG. Now, this game, basically, what excites me is obviously Marvel is an extremely, extremely selective company on who they work with. EA Games has been a big partner for Disney. They make Star Wars games, etc. So seeing that seeing that Take-Two has been able to basically get the license or whatever they had to do to be able to use these Marvel characters and create a Marvel game, I think it's going to be a huge win for Take-Two, and that's going to be the first time we're seeing, I think, a Marvel game from this company. And obviously, huge Marvel fans out there. I'm a big Marvel fan myself. I do think that the IP is basically a big win for them, and they have the talent to make a great game out of it. I know the trailer's been buzzing a lot right now online, so I do think it's going to be a big win for them in 2022. I think it's going to really broaden their scope of games. Now, let's move on to their mobile ambitions. And they've basically shown these huge ambitions in mobile through acquisitions. And we're going to go over the three notable acquisitions in the mobile space that basically shows that they have an interest, and their interest is continuing to be explored and continuing to grow. And mobile's obviously one of the hottest spaces for games because there's so many more mobile gamers than there are full console gamers or PC gamers. So being able to be in that space and compete in it is extremely important for their future. So the first acquisition they made was a company called Social Point. And when I say first acquisition, I'm talking about mobile acquisitions from my understanding. Now, they acquired this company in 2017. I threw a quick screenshot to show you when they acquired it. It was saying Take-Two moves into mobile games, buys Social Point for up to $276 million. I believe it was a mix of cash and stock. Now, on the left side of the screen, all those numbers you see there, those stats, that's coming from their website today. So that is recent stats, not from 2017. So 2 million unique daily users, 600 million downloads, or 7% of the world's population in downloads, 2,500 characters designed, a lot of characters to play with, they say, 330 social pointers working together to amaze you. So I assume that's, what they call their employees, and 12 years of history and counting. So basically this company is growing. They have a huge user base. Some people have referred to them as the Zynga of Europe. But basically, they make popular games. It's a great, I think, accretive acquisition for Take-Two to have made. The next acquisition that Take-Two got into in the mobile space was a company in 2020 called Dots. Now, basically, Take-Two Interactive acquired this company, Dots, for $192 million. This was in 2020. It's about minimalist type of games on mobile space. And basically, these minimalist games are like, they use dots in it. That's why the company's called Dots, and putting lines together, etc. But basically, the point is to show like they're trying to acquire more and more of the mobile gaming space, and they're making acquisitions that are all accretive for their earnings and instantaneously accretive. They have pointed that out in the most recent earnings report, and they pointed that out because they were talking about this next acquisition, which happened in 2021, just recently, and it was that Take-Two acquired a company called Nordeus, which they basically acquired for $378 million. Majority of that acquisition was in cash, and then some of it was in stock that they issued. Now, the main game that Nordeus created is called Top 11. It's the dominant soccer game on mobile. And someone at Nordeus had to say this in an article: after 10 years, we've got a leading position in soccer on mobile, and we just feel that we are ready for the next step. It feels like that next step will be, in every possible way, better if done with a partner like Take-Two. So basically, they're excited to work with Take-Two, and they're excited to take things to the next level beyond what they're known for in these soccer games. They also have a second soccer game called Golden Boot that is very popular. But here's where things get interesting. It's not just about soccer for them. The third game that they have is a game called Heroic. The fact that they've made this game, it shows that the team there is ready to take things to the next step, move past just what they have done with soccer, and get into other types of genres. So basically here it just shows you, this is the Heroic game, how it looks on iPad and iPhone, and basically it's very different than a sports game. So this team is excited for the future to be developing a bunch of different types of mobile games, and I'm sure Take-Two is going to be able to share their experience, especially with sports on the soccer side, since Take-Two has got so much talent on the NBA 2K front. They definitely can share some of that expertise to make it more realistic, etc. Now, as far as pipeline details, they show in their earnings report, as far as games coming out in fiscal year 2022, to be clear, fiscal year 2022 for them is basically until March 31st, 2022. So it includes from now through then. They show that as far as immersive core, which are the main games that the most intense games they build, they have the NBA 2K 2022 coming out. They have WWE 2K 2022. They have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands coming out, so before March, basically. And then they also have an independent game called Ollie Ollie World, which is expected to come out by the end of March of next year. And then on the mobile side, they're expecting to release 10 games, all free to play, all unannounced right now, so a lot of mobile games coming. And then they're also going to be continuing new iterations of previous games that have come out, including Grand Theft Auto 5's expanded enhanced version for Gen 9 consoles, including the Grand Theft Auto Online standalone game, including the new Kerbal Space Program for Gen 9 consoles as well. Take-Two also then shows their pipeline for fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2024. That's basically April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2024. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because under immersive core games, so their most intense games that they're going to make, they're showing that they're going to make 19 new games. Of those 19, basically, they're showing 7 sports games. 7. It's basically telling me they're going to get into a lot more of sports, probably some different sports than they've gotten into in the past. 15 of these will be available for purchase, 4 free to play. So they are going to be expanding this content by a lot. I mean, it's a lot of games, 19 immersive core versions. Then they're going to have 5 independent games, all available for purchase. They're going to make another 10 mobile games, all free to play. And for mid-core, which are kind of like, big games, but just not as big as the immersive core type of games, they're going to have 4 of those, 3 sports-oriented, all available for purchase, though. And then they're going to have 3 new iterations of games that have already come out in the past. So a lot of big plans, and the biggest games they make are the ones they're going to be going all out on, 19 immersive core games. So very, very exciting stuff. Now let's go over the numbers. We're going to do the deep dive. We're going to start to kind of get into the prices and see, what makes sense. And to be fair, this is just my initial first reaction at looking at the stock and playing with some of the numbers. So the first thing I wanted to look at was revenue, past history revenue. It's a great way to start. In fiscal year 2017, they did $1.78 billion in revenue. Fiscal year 2018, $1.79 billion. It's basically remained flat. Fiscal year 2019 went up to $2.66 billion. That was a 49% increase year over year in revenue. Then in fiscal year 2020, which is really, just to keep in mind, that's not last year, that was 2019, since this is fiscal years. There was $3.09 billion, another 16% increase year over year, and then another 9% increase from fiscal year 2020 to fiscal year 2021, going from $3.09 billion to $3.37 billion. So consistently increasing revenue. If you took all that revenue growth over the last 4 years and you averaged it out, it comes out to an average of 18.5% revenue growth per year. So pretty great revenue growth, to say the least. Now, I wanted to figure out, all right, going into the future, the first thing I did was next year I actually expected revenue to go down, because in their latest earnings report, they are expecting revenue to drop from the peak 2020 levels. So fiscal year 2022, which is really 2021, a slight drop. So $3.2 billion, that was kind of in the middle of their what they expected on their earnings report for their estimates. And I'm assuming basically over the next 4 years, basically 15% year over year revenue growth. Now that 15% is less than the 18.5% average that they've had. Obviously, definitely less than some of the bigger numbers that jumps they've had. And with these new acquisitions, I really think 15% actually might be low. With all the new types of games and new acquisitions coming out. But if we did 15% year over year growth, this is what we basically get. We get a fiscal year 2023 revenue number of $3.68 billion. Then we go up to $4.23 billion in fiscal year 2024. Fiscal year 2025 gives you a $4.87 billion. And then finally in fiscal year 2026, which is basically the year 2025, we have $5.6 billion. That's basically assuming 15% year over year growth from now through 2025. And like I said, that I think could be conservative with the acquisitions and especially with the new content that is going to be coming out, some major games. Then we look at net income as a percentage of revenue. So net income has been increasing actually as a percentage of revenue. In fiscal year 2018, it was 9.68% of revenue. 2019 fiscal year, 12.55%. In fiscal year 2020, it was 13.1%. And in fiscal year 2021, so last year, it was as high as 17.46%. So basically, every single year, their net income as a percentage of revenue has actually went higher and higher. And I expect them to continue to actually increase over the long run because of how efficient they are. They have basically great gross margins on the games they make, and their overall expenses as these games scale and get bigger and bigger should become a smaller and smaller percentage. So if we look at these margins just to get an idea, their margins are just getting better over time. In the yellow on the top, we're looking at their gross margins, above 50%, getting close to 55-ish% at this point, constantly increasing over the long trend, and operating margin and profit margin as well, just increasing over the long trend. This is over multiple years, so it gives you a really great picture at how this business is operating, and how their operating leverage is basically just getting better with scale and with time. So 2025 market cap. Like in 2025, where do we think this stock will be? Well, my first assumptions, if I assumed that revenue of 5.6 billion like we got to before, and if 20% of their revenue is net income, I expect it to actually get a higher point than 20%. It gives you a net income of about 1.12 billion in 2025, so as they scale their revenue higher, I think the net income percentage will get higher. With a PE of 25 at the time, which for a growing company is pretty fair. We get a 2025 fiscal year 2026 market cap of 28 billion. Currently, their market cap is 18 billion. So there is plenty of upside. We're talking about 4 years from now. There's a lot of upside to this stock 3-4 years from now, what it's going to look like. As far as though net income, this is where things start to get a lot more interesting. Net income growth has been way more impressive than the revenue growth. So if you look at it through that lens, you can actually start to paint a different picture. So I'm going to do a different model here to see where we can get the market cap by looking at these numbers and what this trend shows us. So I looked at this history of net income, and basically here's what we see. We see in 2017, net income of 67.3 million, and I'm going to be talking about fiscal year across the board. 2018, 173 million. That was a 258% increase in net income. In 2019, 333 million. That's a 92% increase in net income year over year. Then we go up to 404 million, 21% increase year over year, and then 588 million, 46% increase year over year. Looking at this, I've realized they really are increasing net income at a much larger scale than I thought they were, and always over 20%. And I figured that with the new acquisitions, with GTA 6 coming, with a huge push into mobile and new types of content, I expect over the next 5 years we could probably get 20%, which would be less than any year they've done in the last 4 years, increased net income year over year. So if we got that 20% increased net income year over year, we'd basically be sitting at 1.5 billion in net income in 5 years from now, which I don't think is that crazy to get to. So now knowing that number of 1.5 billion in net income in 5 years from now, that could give us a different way to value it. If you have a P of 25 on that 1.5 billion, you basically have a market cap of $37.5 billion. P of 20, if we wanted to be even more generous on the valuation, it would basically give you a market cap of 30 billion, to be more conservative, I mean. So current market cap, 18.5 billion. I think there's a clear case to a doubling in the stock price over in the market cap over the next 5 years. I think that could be a pretty clear case. Now, this is, just to be clear, a work in progress for me. I'm still making different models with different assumptions across the board, but I wanted to show you, what I think of the stock on my first reaction, a first look at this stock, because I did purchase it today. Now, as most of you know, I am a long-term investor, but for anyone who is looking for the quick 12-month target rather than a 2025 target, Basically, if you go to tip ranks, just to give you what other analysts are thinking, there are 13 buys, 3 holds, and no sells on this stock, an average price target of $214, which represents almost 35% upside to the current $159 price that it is. Now, the low price is $180, the lowest target on tip ranks, so that's even quite ahead of the $159 that it is now, and the highest price target is sitting at $235 a share. So, I'm figuring the stock's about 160 bucks. So I'm figuring around a $300 stock price or so in 2025, and they're figuring, it kind of comes close in the math. They figure in 12 months we can get to over 200 a share. So I did start a small position, like I said. I purchased 500 shares. As always, I post the proof. So there's a screenshot just to show you. It was in 2 batches, 300 shares, then another 200 shares, basically immediately following the first 300 shares. Average price on it was about $159.11 for all 500 shares combined. I do plan to keep an eye on this stock and add little by little on any weakness. I don't know if this stock has bottomed or not. And honestly, I don't care. This is a long-term view on the stock, and I'm just starting it's a very small position for my total account, but it is something just to get myself in the door, keep track with the stock, and I do think 2022 is when we're going to see some really nice upticks in revenue and net income due to this expansion of the product pipeline, all this new content, a push deeper into mobile, etc. So I am very excited for 2022. And yeah, that's basically what I think with Take-Two Interactive. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, smash the like button if you haven't already. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. I appreciate you all. I read all of your comments. Until next time.